A snap ship review of the Resistance light cruisers. A 90-point outset because you need to take at least two. You can take a group size of up to 3 with a ship, and they're reasonably quick with a 9-inch thrust. The Scan 4 does sting a little bit, but there are ways to mitigate it. Hull 9 means even though these are light cruisers, they're coming in at pretty much as tanky as some of your mediums. However, the saves are not ideal at 5 per ship, plus a 6+ group save. There are a lot of different ways you can build these things, so we're going to have a little bit of a preamble. A cruiser has to take 3 systems, and up to 2 of those can be a broadside, 1 may be a structure, and any number may be a turret. You can't take more than 3 of these particular systems. Some builds are more efficient than others, and a single low-power weapon may be fired in addition to any other weapons, provided your order permits at least a close action weapon to be fired. If using an engineer, the subsystem network allows you to fire an additional weapon of the same name for 1 AP. It does have to be the same name identically. Due to the heavy customizable nature, it can perform many different roles. I'm going to split these into 3 categories, with delete being anything used to generally kill an enemy ship, deny anything that you would use to support your fleet, drop, as it says on the tin, is a dropship, and hybrid is any combination of the two, largely considered to be less effective in most cases, but there are exceptions. We have a few examples of deleting builds. These are all using general quarters, and you have a glass cannon build to open things up. 2 weapons plus a low power weapon, or 3 weapons with 2 of them being identical and having an engineer will allow you to fire everything on a general quarters order. Again, you can have 2 matching weapons and extra armor if you've got the engineer, or 1 weapon, 1 low power and armor. You can use a raider build, which is 2 matching weapons and an engineer, or 1 weapon, 1 low power and engines. Both of those builds are slightly faster than some of the others. The final build here is a general quarters broadsider with 2 missile banks and scanners, or 2 hybrid banks and scanners. Any 2 of your weapons can be used in addition to a vent turret to be able to fire everything. Let's not rule out weapons free. You can use vent or artillery weapon spam to maximize out the fusillade benefits, or any 3 weapon systems of your choice. You can use damage control to use your paired missile broadsides with scanners, or a paired missile system with a low-powered weapon if you've got an engineer, or you could go all out and have a triple low-power weapon with an engineer. Considerations for the ranking: these are very flexible, particularly under a general quarters order, and you can take groups of up to 3, which allows you to kick out some damage. Denial builds include fighter support, which is a combination of launch bays and any other system. Some of these are better than others. The double launch bay will mean you're taking 4 launch bays across the group, which can get expensive. A dedicated bomber can use 2 bombardment mortars and a low power weapon, or 2 bombardment weapons, any other system, and an engineer. You can take a support platform, which is more or less a hybrid, having either 2 bombard or 2 launch bays and 1 of the alternative. Ranking considerations: again, the engineer comes in clutch, and it's clearly a high value asset for this build. High cost for double launch in groups will make this less attractive to certain players. They can put out some serious drop, which is quite effective. Dedicated dropships would include 2 drop bays and engines, or 2 drop bays in any other system. You can make a Temu version of a Ganymede or an Orpheus, but neither will be as good as their PHR cousins. A tanky dropship might include armor and a launch bay. These are pretty good for all-round matchups where you aren't sure if you're playing into energy or kinetic. Ranking considerations: it can be a cheap source of high-value drop. Synergistically, you're looking at detector ships for your delete options to tag your targets from further range. A Senator for any close action options. If you're using mass drivers or vent cannons, a Galileo will allow you to proc reave and critical more frequently. If playing into kinetic fleets, fighters are essential because your kinetic saves are terrible. Triumvir with a box of scraps will keep things alive a bit longer. Manic repairs plus damage control can also allow for orbital hiding where needed. It also makes for a good combo piece. Here's some builds I would recommend. I've used all these in play, and I use them fairly frequently. These aren't necessarily competitive builds, but they're builds I like using. The first one is a gunship, and it maximizes proccing the reave or the crit rules on the triple mass drivers or the triple vent cannon turrets. You'll need a Galileo with a telescope token to do so, and you'll also need the resistance engineer if you want to remain on your standard orders. Next one is 3 cruisers with the double missile banks, an artillery turret, and then you need a Senator. You will need some detector ships to maximize your range, and you can use manic repairs and damage control to sit on a repair order whilst firing at maximum range. Next one is a drop, 2 cruisers with double drop and engines. Personally, this is my main source of drop in most lists that I run. We also have 2 cruisers with triple bombardment and an engineer. Nothing really to be said about this one, it's just there to flatten cities. The final one is 3 cruisers with triple vent and the Bullet Baron. 2 banks and a turret is what I would normally use, and you can use weapons free for 18 core to one side and 12 core to the other on average for just 210 points. It will be AP greedy, and you'll need to make sure you've got some on hand. So let's wrap this up. The Resistance Light Cruisers are cheap, spike efficient, and very flexible. An engineer with a maxed out group is pretty strong. They have little to no chin, however, and their expensive and high yield launch options may make them less attractive. But their drop options are very cheap and a really solid source of drop at that. For me, the Resistance Light Cruisers will get a B+. Aggressively, they have a very strong alpha potential, but they will fold to any sort of concentrated effort in return fire. In terms of drop, I think they're fantastic, and personally I would run them this way if you're not sure where to start. And then we also have launch. They are expensive because you have to take them as a group, but at 32.5 points per launch, it does have legs and you won't need to worry about it elsewhere in your fleet. If you like this video, if you like the format, and you'd like to see a lot more like it, please head on over to the Bottom of the Barrel Bad Reps channel, like, comment and subscribe. It all supports the channel enormously, and we can put out more content like this. Thank you for your time.